You're still watching Nile TV International, and you're still watching the coverage of President Assisi's visit to Brussels, where Egypt and the EU held their first ever a bilateral summit in Brussels on Wednesday, pledging to deepen their strategic partnership. And the EU announced a new aid package for Egypt and promised to boost investments in the North African country. Of course, security, trade, migration, and Gaza were the main topics, and of course His Excellency the President co-chaired the summit with the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa. With us now in the studio is Dr. Milad Mumtaz, the expert on international relations. Dr. Mumtaz, thank you very much for joining us. First question is the significance of this summit, the timing, and of course the main topics that are on the table.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that timing is more than perfect in my mind. And I know that has been scheduled. We talk about a case that started March 2024.
Yeah.
And I know about the scheduling and all of this because it's a presidential visit. However, I find that, okay, that the two incidents, Sharm el-Sheikh and this one, the summit, I think they're very much connected. We cannot just separate the two events, because what we saw at Sharm el-Sheikh, that was so magnificent, especially, and let me focus on the European leaders attending the Sharm el-Sheikh summit. Okay,
the President of France, the UK Prime Minister, the Chancellor of Germany, the Prime Minister of Spain, and others, and many others.
Exactly. So we're about, okay,
the Italian, of course.
Some of the heaviest leaders and countries in Europe attending Sharm el-Sheikh. And when we see that gathering at Brussels, receiving Mr. President and the Egyptian delegation, in my mind, that is, an evident acknowledgement of how heavyweight our country is. And we're not exaggerating, it's true. That's what we have been seeing since yesterday, by the way. Okay, so Egypt, I think, now has been very much acknowledged, not only in Europe, I think across the world, as a trustworthy mediator, a credible country, which I think that's very difficult to find nowadays, especially in the Middle East. I'm sorry, we gotta be honest and straightforward about this. So Egypt has presented itself, and not only has it presented herself as a country, but has been working to accomplish this. By the way, reaching credibility is very difficult. Becoming a credible country in our region, I think that's very difficult and highly challenging. But Egypt has made it. Egypt has shown everyone that we have a single agenda. We don't have any hidden goals. We are very much obvious about our goals. Okay, we have one word, we have one thing, one path to walk. That's it for Egypt. I think that's one of the key reasons that made Europe very much keen to join forces with Egypt. What we have been seeing since yesterday is about Europe joining forces with Egypt to have peace and prosperity in the Middle East.
Dr. Mumtaz, let's talk about Gaza first, and we've talked about Gaza many times together. The European role here, of course the Egyptian role was there from day one and will continue for every minute. I mean, it's Egypt's responsibility, it's Egypt's destiny, it's the fate of Egypt, the biggest country in the Arab world. So, and the neighbors to Gaza. Israel is trying, and the Israeli war crime suspect prime minister are trying to break up the Gaza deal and create pretexts to bring the deal down and to breach the ceasefire. And they've breached the ceasefire many times. There are key issues now: the Rafah border crossing, the entrance of humanitarian aid, the Israeli withdrawal, the disarmament of Hamas, many key issues. Israel is trying to stall. We're seeing the US President standing tough sometimes, wanting the deal to go through, in other times giving contradictory signals and messages. I'm asking you here about the Egypt-European coordination and the European role here in specific, and how can the President's visit to Brussels get Europe even more involved? A Europe that stood tall at the UN General Assembly for the cause of the two-state solution, the only way to peace in the Middle East, as Egypt has been saying for decades, and as it is being now reiterated by Turkey, for instance. It's very interesting. We're hearing Turkey now repeating these words every day, just like Egypt used to say for decades, that the only way for peace in the Middle East is a two-state solution. The European role, the Egypt connection.
I think that's a very essential question. You know, it's a very fundamental one, actually, you know. Not only to Egypt, by the way, to Europe. Because some people, that may think that, the Palestinian cause, and that's why Egypt has been advocating this. You know, no, I mean, nowadays, it's Europe as well. It's in the benefit, and it's in the best interest of Europe to see the two-state solution in action. Why that? Because it has to do with, as you said, the stability in the region. We want to make sure that there is stability in the region. We have never seen that, advanced level of stability in the region, I think, for the last 7 decades, 8 decades now. Unfortunately, Egypt has been trying to reach that level since late 1970s, by the way. And I think what we've been doing for the last 2 years is a continuation of that work. It's not something that shockingly surprising to Egyptians. We say, wow, that's something Egyptian, they have just actually started doing this. No, definitely no. We have been doing this for decades now,
our fate.
And we mean it.
It's our destiny.
And we mean peace, and we act peace. Not only we talk peace, because some countries and some powers, they talk peace, but they never actually work it. But we've been working on this. That's why this summit, Brussels summit, I find it very crucial concerning Gaza. Why that? Because it's just the first steps, small steps that have been taken. And we are hoping...
This is a very shaky
steps.
Shaky period. Very crucial.
It is.
The Americans themselves said that the upcoming 30 days are hugely important for
the Vice President, American Vice President, for visiting Israel.
Yeah.
He
the
said
ceasefire to hold and the peace plan to progress.
Exactly, because
and the reconstruction of Gaza. Forgot to ask about
exactly.
the European.
I was about to talk about this because that has to do with Europe once again.
And Egypt is the one that led the plan for the reconstruction of Gaza. It is the Egyptian plan that was adopted by the Arabs that seemingly convinced now the whole world that will go through.
I believe I will not be exaggerating if I said that with all due respect to other mediators, but Egypt deserved the title of the mediator, not a mediator. Because we have been doing our best, despite the fact that, and we talked about that a lot before, regardless of the pressures, mounting pressures, ongoing pressure, like never-ending pressures on Egypt. But eventually we made it. And that is a huge success on our side, by the way. However, as he said, many, many more steps to be followed. It's just the start. We have just started a long way. There is a long way to go ahead of us.
You know, countries in Europe, Dr. Mumtaz, like Spain, like Ireland, like Norway, like Slovenia, and many, many others, have taken really such a strong position in support of the just cause, the cause that is supported by international law, by UN resolutions. I'm talking here about the viable independent Palestinian state on the borders of June 4th, 1967. Europe, I mean, they've done a lot. They've come a long way.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, we still need them, right? I mean, we still need Europe, and I think that Egypt wants Europe to be even more involved.
And Europe needs Egypt, actually, to be involved. I'm talking about Europe. Why that? Because Europe, before October 7th, like they were out of the scene. You know, they weren't there, practically speaking. They just gave up. They didn't want to be part of this equation in the Middle East. They decided to rely solely and wholly on the United States of America. And they, you know, willingly decided to forget about us and to forget about the Middle East, and they decided to wholeheartedly support Israel. That was the case. Nowadays, for the last 2 years, we have seen drastic changes in Europe, and I think Europe has realized, finally realized, that what they should have a bigger, deeper, more fundamental role in the Middle East, because that's the best way that they secure not only some economic aspects. I get the issue about energy and what been going on about, okay, the Ukrainian-Russian war. I get all of this. However, Egypt and Europe, they should join forces together to allow Europe to be back once again to the scene that they had lost it for the last couple of years.
Dr. Mumtaz, security was another main topic here in this summit of strategic partner that tries to enhance the strategic partnership between Egypt and the EU. What can you tell us about the talks on the security file?
One of the most vulnerable areas in the world, I'm not exaggerating, in the Middle East. It's very much vulnerable. And let me remind everyone.
Gaza is part of the security
Exactly. Let me remind everyone of ISIS, okay, and so many other fundamentalist groups. You know, it's very obvious. Why that? Because of the instability in the region. And back to your question, it's about security. We need actually to have that kind of secure, stable region. And this has to do with illegal migration as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to stop this, if you want to prevent this, make sure we reach that point we would say that, okay, yes, the Middle East has become a stable region, which I think that's a very tough question. If you want to achieve this and to be actually stable, to secure stability in the region, I think that's a long way to go.
Dr. Mumtaz, thank you very much. We're now going to go live to Brussels. Dr. Mumtaz, dear viewers, where the